So now I'm just going to go, that first example I gave you, that was really a true classic example of a hybrid communications. You had sites that were basically on an OpEx, quote-unquote cloud-based model. You had sites that were premise-based. You connected the two, and it was a very classic and fantastic example of a hybrid communication solution. But some of these other examples we're going to give you are examples that people oftentimes don't think about. Here's a customer, for example, that wants to put everything in the cloud. They want to go OpEx. They don't want to have anything on site for the most part. But at the same time, they want to provide a level of disaster recovery and business continuity. If they lose their connection to the cloud provider, they want to still be able to make and take calls. So if you look at this diagram, you'll see a local gateway. And plugged into that local gateway, you'll see local analog lines, or maybe SIP trunks, or maybe a PRI, connecting to the outside world. So if you lose that connection, the 2% of the time, or 1% of the time, hopefully, that you lose that connection to the cloud provider, now you have the ability to make and take calls locally. So that's pretty much a 98% in the cloud and maybe a 2% on-site or on-premise. Here's another example. This is all of your communications is on-site, but you're just subscribing to unified communications in the cloud. This has actually been around for a while, and ShoreTel's done a pretty good job at this, where all of your unified communication servers, your call processing, your dial tone access, all of that resides on-site. But there are specific unified communications applications that can be consumed on an as-needed basis. So a great example, and we have this all the time, customers will approach us and say, hey, we've got 10 of our C-level staff, or we've got a very small amount of users, maybe 10 or 20 out of the 500 users that we have that want a very specific application, whether that's fax server or whether that's a speech-to-text transcribing solution, whether it's a mobility solution, perhaps a basic contact center for a tech support group. And they'll ask us to quote out a project. We need to quote out hardware and software and professional services, and it's going to cost this much money, and it's going to require this, these project management capabilities. But it's really, again, for 10 users. So this is a great situation for a customer that, okay, this is maybe 95% on-site or premise, but 5% in the cloud. And I always go back to ShoreTel because this is the example that makes the most sense to me in my head. In this particular scenario, the on-site unified communication server, which is called the HQ server with ShoreTel, is connected into the cloud, and you can turn on and off these applications. So it makes a lot of sense. It's not a capital expenditure. It's not a large project. It's just basically turning on these features when they need it and delivering it. And if they leave and they don't want it, you turn it off. Again, so this is a lot of the infrastructure on site, but subscribing to cloud-based UC applications. Obviously, most of the time with this particular scenario, in this scenario, ShoreTel provides both the cloud-based services and the on-site hardware. As far as having, an Avaya or a Mitel or another on-site premise-based system and subscribing to other cloud-based and wanting to subscribe to, say, ShoreTel cloud-based applications, that would probably be a challenge. So again, another great example of how you can blend the two. So this is an interesting model. It's pretty popular, and it's been around for a while. And in my experience, this model is oftentimes, it happens by accident. And the reason for this is because we're seeing this more and more. Different lines of business units are oftentimes responsible for different aspects of the communication technology. In this example, perhaps the IT staff is responsible for the phone systems. And then the marketing or the customer service people are responsible for the contact center or the call center. Unfortunately, in these situations, the latter often is the group that has the budget, right, and the attention of executives, because the contact center is usually the moneymaker or the lifeblood of the organization. So an example, we've had a customer, for whatever reason, had different brands of phone systems actually all under the same roof. Usually this is when you have different brands of phone systems at different sites, but this in particular customer had, I think it was a Tataran or some legacy old phone system, but they also had ShoreTel. And they were eventually going to replace the legacy system with ShoreTel, but in the meantime, they didn't have budget for that. In the meantime, they needed to roll out a very robust contact center. And what that was going to give them was an intense customer service center, because they just picked up a new government contract. And they needed to roll it out fast, right? They didn't have really the budget at the time to start replacing the technology and doing a refresh on the phone system. And so what we did here is we implemented a cloud contact center. And so for lack of a better term, I call it a cloud overlay, essentially. So again, let's say with this particular diagram, let's say I have a phone system an on-premise phone system at my corporate office. Maybe I have a Mitel at another office. I have an NEC at another office. Whatever the reason was, I didn't standardize on my procurement. Maybe we acquired these companies, so we've kind of got a mismatch of platforms. But then I take my main customer service numbers and I port them to my cloud contact center, which is represented by the cloud in the middle of your screen here. Now calls come into my cloud contact center, and I can deliver all kinds of enterprise-class contact center services like priority-based routing, skills-based routing, database integration. There's some caveats around the database integration piece. But I get all my advanced cloud contact center. I got a single pane of glass reporting from my supervisors. But then when I queue up calls and I deliver calls to agents, I just need to deliver that to an agent that's on can be reachable by a 10-digit number. For example, a DID on a legacy PBX, or a DID on a non-legacy unified communication system, or perhaps agents at home using soft phones, or agents at home using 10-digit landlines, or again in a disaster recovery solution, your agents can't get into an office. They can just basically point and their agent extension to their cell phone, and now they can log in and take calls. And then everybody has a single unified tool for logging in and out and managing queues and reporting and things like that. So very nice. This is a really popular model. We're excited about this. We're doing a lot of work in this area. And then because there's also some benefits with cloud contact centers. For example, in this multi-site environment, let's say calls come in and you have agents, people that are capable of taking care of your customers at various locations. And calls come in, maybe I ring one office 3 times, 4 times, I can ring another office. I can ring back to my corporate call center. So you get a lot more flexibility here, and you can do it really on a subscription basis, on a monthly basis, and you can do it without doing a large technology refresh on your system. So cloud contact center overlay, nice. One last thing I'll mention about cloud contact centers is the ability for customers that are seasonal to meet the need. For example, we have a customer that sells One Kings Lane. They sell furniture, or we have another customer that sells a lot of shoes. So they want perhaps something that's more scalable, and they want to ramp up during busy times, and they want to ramp down during off-season times. And so a cloud contact center is a really good way to do that. It's not if you go with the right cloud contact center, it's definitely not the cheapest. But so you want to do a cost-benefit analysis. Sometimes delivering a premise-based solution for those makes the most sense. But again, we can help you navigate that stuff.